can't tell you guys what a joy it is actually to work with Tom. Most of you senior leaders know what it's like. We get out there and just kind of fake things as we go, and week by week things seem to fall together, but Tom actually thinks ahead, and it's bringing a whole new discipline to my life. We have a strange, wonderful relationship. He's strange, I'm wonderful. And we'll just leave it that way. I want to share with you, if you look for this, you're going to find what I'm going to talk about now in section number 4. And the name of the document on the top, it just looks like a printed piece, just like this. We are going through the process of numbering these pages. It's another refinement, but this is called Global Purpose-Driven Development Training Process Differences. And as a guy who's been, my first assignment by Pastor Rick was in 2007. I lived in Rwanda for 100 days, and I came back and I lived there for another 115 days. And applying the process, I've been a veteran on the ground with pastors just like you. I had the same hunger to get out and share purpose-driven with so many other people. But these are changes that I wanted to share with you that I think that are fundamentally very, very different and yet so exciting. And the first thing is, let me just plant a seed before I go through this document. The most exciting thing is from the very beginning, we are training these pastors to take other men and leaders, surround themselves with these leaders, and put them into action into the 5 purposes. Find your worship guy, ministry, evangelist. Find your fellowship guy. Find your discipleship trainer. Right away, we plant that seed from the very, very first day, and we start to have this guy bring these people with him. So he's not sitting in the conference by himself anymore. What he's doing is bringing his team with him. Simultaneously, he is established as the leader. We're not watering that down. He's the clear leader of his team. But his team is being given the assignments week after week after week. If you're the worship guy, this is what we're expecting. If you're the minister, if you're in charge of ministry development, this is what we're expecting. So from the very, very beginning, we are building a team around him. I don't know about you. Let's just test this. When I came with one guy the first year. In the second year, I came all by myself. How many other guys came all by yourself? Was it just me? Yeah, okay, about 40% of us. When you bring your team, how many of you were happy that you brought a team with you and heard it the first time? That's right. Yeah. Finally, I got the guts to bring my team. Later on, it was about 2 years into the process. I finally confessed to these guys. I had been learning from Pastor Rick. You need to come and hear it. So I brought my elder team down with their wives and stuff like that. They sat in the conference, and I'm just waiting. Oh man, what are they going to say at the end of this time? Because they're going to hear Pastor Rick sharing all this stuff. We're driving back in the van together. It's real quiet. And I'm thinking, oh man, I'm busted now. And the president of our elder board, he says, hey Dave, Rick Warren stole all your best stuff. And from that point on, we were a real team and began to function together. And that's when things really started taking off. So that's a primary part of the new way, is to establish an honest, open team from the very, very beginning. Here's just a few more for you. Certification by Saddleback and Rick to honor and validate you. I don't know how many times you've ever had this thought. Man, I wish I could have a letter of introduction somehow by Rick to this group, and it really does. It just blows the door open. As a part of what we're doing together, and you men hand-selected in this room for whatever reason, some of you might think, well, yeah, I should have been here a long time ago. One of my new friends yesterday was saying, I don't even know why I'm in this room. But somehow you've caught God's attention, and you've caught the attention of Saddleback Church. And we want to make sure that somehow there's a certification process. It's going to be rigorous, and you're going to hear about it, but none of you guys will have any problem getting through it. But can you imagine going saying, I am a certified trainer of the purpose-driven model. And here's my membership card signed by Pastor Rick Warren. I mean, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is that exciting to you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool deal. Number 2, led by an army of trainers worldwide. So purpose-driven practitioners all over the world, we are really working hard to establish a kind of a tribal drum. Something that we can beat that will bring us all to the table and that we can resonate with. You guys are out there doing heroic work on your own, but there's very little feedback or connection. We don't know everything that's being done. We want to know. We want to know. We want to talk about it. We want to brag about it. We want to learn, and we want to share those learnings with one another. So now it becomes more of an army. And we're all out there working, sharing, participating, moving forward together. Anybody excited about that idea?
Yeah.
That's a new deal. Number 3, we're going to continue to offer Pastor Rick's time-tested materials and insights. Now, the content is going to stay identical. It's everything that we've learned. But one thing that I learned from my Rwandan friends, one day they were so frustrated. They said, Dave, we don't need readers. We need leaders. And I thought, man, that's true. Once the purposes get inside of you, how are you going to let those come out? Well, there's 4 primary differences in how we're going to handle the materials. Here they are. First, our primary teacher will remain Pastor Rick Warren. Either through his written material, we're going to stay very true to that, or by using DVDs. I'll explain why that's so important in a minute, but basically it allows guys who are interested but don't know anything about purpose-driven to get into the game early and learn at the same time that they're passing it on, simply by allowing Pastor Rick to do the talking. You know what I'm talking about? Okay, here's the second thing. Smaller bites of teaching. Tom really covered this very, very thoroughly. But the smaller bites of training are not just for attentiveness, but it allows the guys to stop, to process, and talk and interact with one another. What I've discovered, and for me, I was one of those guys, I was brought up, okay, if Rick's going to speak for 55 minutes, I'm going to be there listening. Anybody feel the same way? Okay, a lot of guys aren't that way. They need the break. But beyond that, small group discussion questions are designed to support the 25-minute training before that. And you say, now you guys break up. At every table, let's talk about this. And they will talk for about 20 minutes, almost an equal amount of time. Here's what I've discovered. I've been to all the training sites in Mexico. I've listened in very, very carefully. About 80% of the comments are fantastic. These guys, like iron sharpens iron, they talk at the tables, everybody's getting it. And it's not like they're experts, but they're getting it and dealing with it and making decisions. And about 20% of that discussion is a little nutty. And so that's why a trainer's on site, guys like you that can take those kind of off comments that are a little outside of our purpose-driven realm and bring them back into the fold very, very gently. Here's a third thing that makes it different. That these small group discussions allow these guys to actually learn and internalize on the spot. And not only learn and internalize, but we are asking them to develop their own applicational process in the moment. So when they go home at the end of that day, their action plan is already in step, figured out. Where we were leaving them before, and this was primarily my style as well, we would teach and teach and teach, and they'd say, man, the day is done. When we leave now with the new process, when we leave, we say, well, we've taught, you've learned, you've discussed it, you've developed a plan, now go do it. And we'll see you in 30 days. Let us know how it goes. And that 30-day window really makes it very, very cool. Here's some of the resources that are provided. And this will be in your kit later on today. The complete set of teaching notes for students, the transcripts, class materials are all provided, tools, and the follow-up materials are all provided in one spot. By the way, this also includes, week by week, a designed, progressive sermon series, all by Pastor Rick, that for the time that they are with us, we're actually providing their preaching content. It takes off some of the load of sermon preparation, but more than that, it's like riding that purpose-driven bicycle of learning how to preach, which is a fundamental part of who we are. So this transformational process with the materials provided is astounding. Homework is also provided each and every week. And they're step-by-step developed, divided out week by week, so a guy knows how to track with it and how to move himself forward. And then the tools, like the sermons, like something I want to discuss next, this dashboard, are a part of what is going to ensure their success. Let's jump to that. Number 4, tracking of progress using their dashboard. What we want them to do from the very, very beginning is establish this baseline. It's like when you go into the doctor and he asks you a number of questions. You know, if he just said, can you imagine the doctor if you went in there the first time and he goes, wow, Dave, you stepped onto the scale. I gotta say, you're 25 pounds heavier than the last time I saw you. Look at the way you're growing, man. Wow, I've never seen anything like it. Your progress is astounding. A doctor would never say that. So what the dashboard does for the body of Christ, it takes the weight, okay? How many people are coming each week? But it takes the blood pressure. It takes the heart rate. It takes all those mechanisms, puts them all in one place, and over time, we can watch week or month by month as they enter new data. What is happening inside your church? And it's a way for us to diagnose a problem, see a problem that's coming, and then prescribe a solution. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. Hold your questions for the end. Number 5. We're going for what we call the quick install. And the quick start, the quick install simply means that over this 8-month period, this guy will know enough about the entire model. He will have heard it. He will have been coached through it. He will have discussed it. He will have applied it to his ability. So even then, at the end of that 8-month period, he will have enough inside of him with ongoing coaching. That's another part of this. That ongoing coaching, he will be able to assess, make his next step decisions, identify the needs of the people in his church, and move them forward. All of this stemming from that quick install. He'll have enough inside to keep him going. Number 6, pastoral coaching and follow up. Can you imagine if in the early days of Purpose Driven, guys like us who got hungry to do it, if you had a way to simply call up and say, hey, I'm stuck here, there's something, I know I heard it, I know I want to do it, but I don't know how to get it started. Could you help me? Man, wouldn't you have loved to make that phone call?
Yes. Yeah.
Man, I was lucky. My church was about 95 miles from Saddleback, and I would drive down anytime I had a question. And the staff was always so good that they were willing to spend time with me. Many of you guys, as I see your faces and I know your stories, have latched on to staff and staff members in the same way. Let's make that available to everybody. Not everybody's going to be able to call here, but guess what? In a room like this, the capacity of this room, thousands could be calling you. And through a network of all of us working together, man, the expanding exponential ability to love and care for these developing pastors and churches is simply incredible. And then, which brings us finally to number 7. You guys must not be forgotten. Because as you give out to this great movement, who's going to coach the coaches like you? The dream is to develop this coaching network via the internet,
Okay.
so that we can have eye-to-eye, face-to-face contact, meet in groups, all online, and begin to share what we are learning, what are the best practices, what are the problems that we're running into, and that we can actually share some stories and say, I got to tell you what's going on down in San Diego. And I've heard it from you, but it becomes a part of my coaching repertoire. Your stories become my stories. Your illustrations, your problem solvers and fixers become a part of this big PD repository of knowledge. And this is what excites me to today. Now, I've been in this movement for many, many years. I've been excited from the very beginning. I'm continuously excited about it. I've loved the work that I've done for Pastor Rick since 2007, but I am really excited about these next steps today. And let me stop there for a minute, and let's talk about some of these things. That was just 7 short points. Maybe you've got some things to add, talk about, think about before we go on. Yes, brother.
I did had the privilege in Nigeria with the team there. We did the conferences for 3 years, commuting back and forth through the conference for 1,000 pastors. At the same time, I was doing this kind of training with the PD model in India and Cambodia. And I could see the contrast between the two models of implementation and training. And I'm thrilled that you've adopted this. We're seeing such incredible fruit from doing it this way for the last 5 years. And I just can't tell you how excited I am about how you're implementing this. It's phenomenal.
Well, let me say this, is that for a guy like you to be willing to go to Nigeria and do it in a way that was handed to you, even though you were experiencing some other things, it's just a testament to your faithfulness. And because of that, I just thank God for you and for you to be a part of this team. And these kinds of learnings, hopefully, in this network, we learn them faster and apply them sooner.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you.
What else? The other thoughts? Brother?
Just trying to figure out if I'm grasping this here. So basically, you're doing training every 30 days. You're doing is it a 1-day session that's happening?
It's one full day. It's one full day, and it'll happen 8 months in a row.
Okay. So for instance, with me in India, so is that 8 trips once a month, or how?
We're going to talk about that. I'm going to say you're probably going to take, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think I've got this. You'll probably take the first trip. You'll probably take the last trip to graduate. In between, you will be coaching the guy on the ground. Let me encourage you with an idea. Tom was right, and Tom has been a great leader for me. He's corrected me in ways that I don't even know I'm being corrected. I really like that, because I've had it the other way too. But one day Tom asked me to present a module, so I just preached my guts out. And you can probably tell, I can get kind of nutty and crazy. And Tom goes, man, that was really good. He says, but you know what? I would pity the guy that came on behind you. That's all he said. 2 days later, I'm still thinking about it, and I'm thinking, you know what? I think I'd rather help other guys become successful instead of being a superstar at doing what I do. That mental change allowed me, I've been to Mexicali more than any other place. I have had the joy now of behind the scenes talking on the phone and spending time in the office with one of our Mexican pastors named Pastor Manuel. He can do it better and more effectively than I ever could because I took the time to get out of the way. I'm not criticizing you. I'm just saying I don't think you're going to have to go 8 times in a row.
Yes. My next question is, and so if we're using the video with Rick, and we're doing it into another language,
Yeah.
how does that happen?
Well, you'll be happy to hear that just a few days ago, we had a budget meeting, and we're targeting 30 languages. And already we have French, we have Kinyarwanda, some African tongues, we've got Spanish, we've got English. We're on the move, brother.
And Hindi?
Yes.
Hindi, no, who would want to know about Hindi though? No, that would be you, yeah.
David, we've already shot 3 languages using Africans doing the teaching and not Rick.
Yeah. That's right. And the same thing is true in the Spanish-speaking world. We've used native Spanish speakers on screen. So we're working towards that. You will be supported in that. Brother,
So can I open the Pandora's box?
I guess so, but if you do, could I call Tom up here? No, go ahead.
Okay, so one of the obvious things, I worked on the early teams for this, and the question that's still pending, Rick is a polarizing feature of PD, as well as the brand of PD. And so in the United States, that's the area that still becomes the difficulty. So I guess I'm wondering, how are we addressing that issue? How are we going to address the Rick factor? Because
Yeah, you know what? Just out of courtesy for our most senior leader who's not here, David, I'm going to ask David to help with that, okay? I have my own feelings, but basically, boxing gloves in the back alley hasn't really worked out. So, but I think that with us back in the game, and if you notice where Tom started, he said, we are going to prove the biblical foundation for what we're doing. And that is going to be paramount even to proving Rick is right. Does that make sense? We're going to start with the Word of God. And I think that in and of itself, I'm hoping will at least slow down some of our detractors. Knowing what I know about Pastor Rick and watching his life up close and personal, I'm kind of on that edge of the inner team. I see Rick and I watch his life, and what a wonderful, good, great man he is. I would want people to know that about my pastor, rather than have to listen to all the hogwash and garbage that's out there. The last time we were down south across the border, someone came up and said, well, our pastor won't allow us to read Rick Warren because he performed a gay marriage for his son. Now, everybody, are you flabbergasted by that? There's absolutely no foundation in reality. It's not close. There's nothing I can even say that I can stretch my mind around to say, how did you get there? I just confronted it head on. We said, that is an absolute lie. It's absolutely false. Whoever said this needs to be rebuked, because this is wrong. It is gossip and it's a sin against the body of Christ. So basically, Brian, that's how I address these things. I'm not saying it's the right for everything. But I do believe, bring David Sean back. Yeah, right. He'll give us the right approach. But I do believe that this will help us, not hurt us. And that's the main thing. But let's ask David back, okay?
And you understand the heart behind it. And that,
Oh, no, I understand. No,
at the end of the day, we're all the choir here. We absolutely love Rick and we get the nonsense factor. But removing unnecessary blocks is critical in North America.
Yes.
It's just critical. And it's still got to be addressed. The issue still has to be addressed. I get everything he said, but we still have to get there to where we figure out. Because I know Rick's heart is revitalization in North America and purpose-driven and installing it. So we've got to figure out what's the right system that we can almost stealth mode. And so that's what pastors have been doing already. Is we're teaching PD out the wazoo without speaking PD and Rick. Just by being able to become all things on this, we can get the thing in. But once we relaunch and it becomes a Saddleback initiative, it's got to be addressed clearly.
Yeah, Brian, that's Wednesday morning. A big portion of that is help for things like that. So make sure, I will cue David in, but make sure you don't let that get away from us on Wednesday morning. Make sure we address that.
Okay.
How about one or two more thoughts, questions? Brother?
Just a quick one, domestically, doing the 8-month program, you're there, you can be at each workshop, leading it. Internationally though, you know, it becomes a problem with resources, being there for each of the 8 months.
Yes.
And, you know, maybe you don't have to be, but if it's a fresh group of pastors, they've never been exposed to this ever, for you to assume that they can teach 2 through 8 on their own, is that a stretch, or how do you see that?
Once again, what probably would be preferable is that you show up, set the pace, allow for the guy that you identify. There will be a team leader there that is probably the gatherer internationally. Build yourself into him. You come to session 1, 8 months later you come to session 8. That's probably a very good starting point to think from. If you wanted to show up in the middle, you could do that too. Allow us to go a little bit further in the online coaching ideas that we're having, and that will really assist you. And that will come between today and tomorrow. Okay, thank you, brother.
I'm just curious how many times you guys have actually done that.
This,
Now, what you just described, that you show up first one, then you come back
yeah.
on the 8th.
Well, we're piloting it in Mexico in 8 different cities. And so we're almost through that piloting phase. At this moment, I would guess that it's successful, but we won't know for another 2 to 3 months. We've never completed a complete cycle like that yet.
I just know it's hard for guys who have not lived this to teach it.
Yes.
You did this off of a page.
Yeah. Once again, let me share with you just for a minute. We're going to have different. Now I see you out the corner of my eye, Dave. Just a second, and I'm going to give the floor over to you because I see you at a microphone and you're going to. Oh, okay. Yeah. I was very intuitive though, if I do have to say so myself. In this, we're going to allow for many, many levels of training. In the 3 delivery methods, live, online, and virtual, take that into consideration. Plus, let me add another element. What if there was a group of guys somewhere in the world that wanted to get started, but they knew very little? We're building this so that a guy can take it, and everything step by step is scripted. And I think I'll get into this after the break, if I can just have 5 minutes after the break. I'll show you what our training regimen is like. A guy with no training or not incomplete training could utilize Rick and these DVDs to actually bring a very good seminar to his people where they could begin to apply it. That's one level. All the way to a guy that can teach it, lives it, has modeled it. But we want to make it so that we don't have to have a lot of 100% perfect trainers. We want to have guys with 100% perfect hearts towards the Church of Jesus Christ. And we'll stand behind that.
Hey, David, can I make a comment about the Mexico pilot? Because
Yeah.
when Rick transitioned us last June, and we knew we had to make some adjustments, because I'm in violent agreement with you. So, that's how much we believe in what you said, Steve. The globe is not vacant of people who understand purpose-driven, right? I mean, it's remarkable when you go places and realize you get a group of pastors like this together, you think are all brand new to any of this teaching, they go, oh yeah, I've been doing this for 10 years. So the product that we've developed was never intended to be the primary teaching tool. We actually started it with the idea of a local who's been doing purpose-driven for many years, is kind of off, nobody knew who they were, that shows up and says, you know what, thank you for coming, I've been doing it. Great, then you could be the trainer, we'll coach you, and by the way, here's something that you can do, kind of updated process, something you could give to people who've come so they can listen again to it and review. and they don't have homework. They actually are getting volunteer purpose leaders that are building teams to do it alongside of you. You can show them this as well. So you're bringing your whole team along. You can teach it live. We always prefer kind of a live experience first, where this is kind of a backup tool. That's the intent of the tool. It was never intended to be the primary teaching tool.
Really good.
I think that's really important.
Okay. Dave, one last one, and then Dave, let me give this to you. I think it's probably important for you to have something to say.
I really don't have
In
Yes,
your,
brother.
in,
I think they're gonna ask you a
in the
question.
new 8-month model meeting once a month, what's the retention of all the pastors coming back and receiving the training month
Oh,
after
yeah.
month after month?
Okay, this is wild. The group grows. Okay, and that doesn't mean new people are coming all the time. It means the guys who bought in after session number 1, like for the last, I just finished the 6th series in Mexicali, the 34 pastors every time, nearly 100%. A guy will miss every now and then because of sickness or something, but it's 100%. But the group grows. Why? Because you're bringing those other men around him and leaders around him. Just
And that's with a local on the ground taking 6 of the 8 months?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, and he's doing a fabulous job. Yep. Okay. Yes, brother.
This is a content question, not a system question, so should I save it?
No, go ahead.
So in my area, for the last, well, ever since Piper became real big and, more of the reform movement became, really big, a lot of churches have moved to ESV, and in a lot of the material, Rick uses multiple translations. And that poses a problem for, I know, my peers, is are there going to be things that can be adapted from Saddleback side, such as utilizing a single translation instead of multiple translations?
Well, the function of this meeting is to hear things exactly like that. And all of these things are being recorded, written down, made note of, so that, no, don't put that down. And so that these things can be incorporated and thought of over time.
No,
to ask that question.
Guy that looks like
So, it's a good observation, and I think we need to think about it. Or basically, could you ask your question later? You were out of line. No, I'm just kidding.
I think those kind of adjustments are going to have to be made by the guy who's experiencing those adjustments, right? That we would give you permission, that all you guys here are practitioners. You know what the paradigm is, and you know how, that Rick uses verses to communicate a point clearly. And if there's a better verse in ESV, if you have to go through all of that, then so be it. That shouldn't be the roadblock, right? That keeps somebody from learning about purpose-driven. So, bless you, my son. You are now, the ESV guy.
Yeah, right on. Everybody, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back at promptly 11 o'clock, 15 minutes. We'll see you then, and we'll continue on. Thanks a lot. Thanks for a great morning.